that meeting with the DEP, the township and its council came up with, and the township entered into an actual sales agreement that was dated November of 2017 to purchase the property. And that sales agreement included numerous conditions based upon the environmental testing and remediation of the property. And then along with that, something is usually done, and so is the case here. The township also entered into a consent order and agreement with the DEP and ABB in December of 17. And that consent order and agreement that provides that Cecil would achieve Act 2 compliance with Act 2 standards by January 3rd of 2023. It provided a timeline and steps to get Act 2 compliance. And as long as the parties complied with that agreement, DEP was not going to take any action on Cecil or ABB under various environmental laws, including Act 2, until DEP grants a release of liability under the Act 2. So this is a process that exists in Pennsylvania related to any industrial site or sites that are brownfields, so they're called, for cleanup. So after the sales agreement was signed, the township engaged its own environmental consultant, Dave Perry from American Geosciences, who's here with us tonight, to review the site and complete testing. He did a lot of review of the records prior to the sales agreement, entering into the sales agreement, and he developed a plan for independent testing of the property as a start to the Act 2 clearance. That work was kicked off back in January of 2018. Subsequent to that kickoff, there was groundwater testing at the site that was completed as what I'll call a go-no-go. A go-no-go is, hey, if something's really bad, we're going to walk away from it at the point where we do this initial testing. That was the intention. So with these sites, as I understand it, the groundwater is the biggest issue, so that's the first thing that was tested for on the site, because groundwater is difficult to control and to clean up, and it was the point where the township wanted to initially understand whether there were issues or there weren't issues with the property and moving forward with the purchase. So Dave's company, they tested for 16 constituents in the groundwater. You can all read those up there, but there were a number of constituents and heavy metals that was checked for in the initial testing of the groundwater. One of the constituents, it's called 1,4-dioxane, was found to be of issue when encountered in surface water tests. As I understand it, it was within standards in the groundwater, but it also was showing up in the actual surface water, that being the small creek or the tributary that drains water from the property. So the results of that groundwater testing were presented to the township officials at a meeting in May of 2018. And at that point in time, the township officials were still contemplating those results and trying to decide what to do. So things lay dormant for a little while, and then again there was a meeting with township officials in July, and there was a discussion not to further authorize any further environmental testing on the site by the environmental consultant. And the reason for that was that there's a big coal waste pile up there that would also have to be cleaned up as a part of any Act 2 clearance on the property. And the coal waste pile, it's something that there's actually money out there that is available to clean up coal waste piles. So there was a meeting through the township's environmental consultant, environmental council on the property, where they got the DEP Bureau of Mine Reclamation involved, and there was a site meeting out there to walk the site with the Bureau of Mine Reclamation last July. And the township stopped any further testing on the site and decided to make an application to remediate the coal waste pile and clean up through the DEP Abandoned Mine Reclamation Grant. And that grant request was in the amount of $1.9 million, and it was made in July of 2018. And officially, there's no decision on that award of that grant has been made yet. So there's been no further testing or additional work to obtain the DEP Act 2 clearance at this point in time, and it's just been a sitting and waiting for the outcome of the grant application. So that's the facts as we know them, and what work the township has done to this point. The intent at this point was to try to answer any questions related to the project that the public may have.
Correct. Very well. Thank you, Dan. I did want to set up some parameters that, politely, if I can, request from you that we keep our comments and questions at 2 to 3 minutes to allow all of us to hear from everyone. It's quite a good group. Please address your questions to our professionals as well. At this time, Supervisor Fisher asked if she could make a remark.
As you walked in this evening, you were handed this packet of information. I feel the need to take a few minutes of your time. I apologize for having to do this instead of getting right to your questions, but to clarify some information that was put in here. The first thing that says, 2 days ago, 2 professional environmental engineers were dismissed by Supervisors Clear, Fisher, and Easy in order not to attend. That is not true. No action can be taken in executive session, and it wasn't taken in executive session, to dismiss our attorneys or order them not to attend. We did an executive session this past Tuesday with the purpose, a majority of this board, for the main purpose of finding out. It appeared as if we were heading towards not being interested in pursuing the project, and we wanted some information before our May 6th meeting so that we could make an educated decision on whether that was a viable option. When we walked into that executive session, the attorney that was there made it clear that he was not interested in helping us pursue that, and his exact words were that we should obtain a second opinion, to which we said, okay, no problem. Like, you want us to get a second opinion, we will do that. And said that if we were no longer interested in pursuing the project, he would not attend on Thursday. Again, we said okay. There was never an order to not attend. And as far as, it's disappointing that communication, that our township manager is being thrown in the middle of this, but there's an email from our township manager that says, you all can read it, directed to this end, Dave and Dan will not be participating in Thursday's public discussion. That was a miscommunication, and what you're missing here is my response to Mr. Danuso after having talked to Frank and Ron about this, which was, yes, we did say don't spend any more money, because at this point we've spent in excess almost $500,000 in various things on this project. We did say stop. It's appearing as if this board doesn't want to move forward. Stop spending money. There was a miscommunication about whether or not they should attend this meeting. It was immediately corrected, and Dave and Dan were never told not to attend or not to do the presentation, which is why they're here today. So what you're missing is that. As far as the second email where it says attached are the bullet points prepared by the township environmental consultants addressing questions, what it says on the front is that please read the attached written questions and answer narrative prepared by the township's environmental engineer, Dave Perry from ADAD. No one on this board said not for this information to be put on our website. What we asked, we said sure, and you can ask Ron and Frank. What we said was sure, go ahead and place the information on the website, but please put on there that it appears that a majority of this board is no longer interested in pursuing this project. We didn't want the information to be put out there and have people think that all of a sudden everybody's in favor of moving forward again. At that point, certain other supervisors said don't put it up there, I don't like the wording of that statement. Again, this is very misleading, and it's very disappointing that certain supervisors chose to take that direction this evening, and I very much apologize for taking your time to speak, to have to correct those. But I have my computer sitting here. I'm happy to show any of you that are interested in seeing my communication with Mr. Danuso or any other emails that you would like to see. I apologize.
Thank you, Cindy. On that note, I mean, it's apparent that the two environmental attorneys are not here to speak to you or to answer questions on contract damages, surcharges, grants, and any issues around the agreement. May I hear from the public, or with a show of hands, who would like to see those attorneys in here for a meeting and ask them questions? Very well. The board, I would ask, would you reconsider your three that voted it down? Frank, would you?
No.
Cindy, would you consider?
Can I explain?
I just want to know, because we
I
have
want to
before.
explain why. Here's the.
Eric, wait, before the meeting, you said no talk about contracts or none of that, and you brought it up.
I'm happy to have Mr. Twp here. I'm happy to have him here. But I would also like to take his opportunity to get a second opinion because his position was that we could not get out of this contract, that he negotiated a fair and binding contract. He also showed up with bullet points about why we should remain in the contract. We're not asking that.
So,
We're not asking for his opinion on why we should remain in the contract. We're asking how we accomplish what a majority of this, it appears a majority of this board is looking for, which is to get out of this deal. I'm fine with having Mr. Twp here, but I would also like additional representation.
very well. Tom, are you okay with it? Yes, and I am as well. So maybe please set something up for either next Wednesday or
Wait
Thursday
a
at 7
minute, are
o'clock.
you saying it passed?
Pardon me?
Are you saying it passed, that the people want them?
Pardon me?
We
If
can't
people
take-
raise their hands to say they would like to ask questions to the environmental.
We can't take any action tonight, first of all, and we have to.
Well, we could announce to the public that we would like to do it.
No, we have to wait till after our May 6th meeting so that we can take a direction on whether or not we're going to remain with Mr. Twp and whether or not we can get a second opinion.
I'd like to explain something first. It says we're supposed to spend $450,000. We already spent over that. The other $450,000 doesn't cover the testing or nothing else. We'll take them up to another $450,000. So we're going to be close to $1 million before we stick a bucket in the ground. It's absolutely true.
All right, so you guys would be open, we could set something up and identify to the public.
We will discuss it at our May 6th meeting.
I would like to have a meeting or let the public be informed. So there are 3 votes against having the attorneys.
Eric, let's let Mr. Perry and Mr. Dizeroff answer the questions of the residents. Mr. Perry is an environmental
All right.
engineer.
I just
Mr.
thought I had
Dizeroff is an is a civil engineer.
Very well.
There are people here to answer your questions.
But they are not, as I pointed out, Cindy, I don't mean any disrespect, but they cannot address the breach of contract, damages, surcharges, and the agreement questions.
We didn't even get the answers to those questions. How are you going to put somebody up here when we called an executive session on Tuesday to get the answers to those questions and we're told he couldn't answer them or wouldn't answer them?
Well, why not have him here and let him speak for himself? Cindy, why do you object?
All right, let's
didn't.
keep.
I'm not.
And because we're getting such a, we paid him over $80,000.
That has nothing to do with it. That's taxpayer money. What we want to know is have them here, let us, the citizens, ask the questions, and then we can make an informed decision.
And
At
that's
this
right.
point,
Board is making all the decisions, we have no
At this
input.
point, as the chairman said, this isn't the forum to talk about the contract, so I think that we could move on.
I'm not talking about the contract, I'm talking about having the engineers here.
Very
Anna,
well.
Dave is the environmental engineer on the project. He can answer any questions that you have about the testing, about what's been done, about what the process is, about what's been found, about
I
the plan.
understand that, but why do you object so
I don't.
vehemently having these
All right.
people here? I
Again, we
don't
can
know.
move on to the public
Please,
hearing
Anna.
portion of this.
So the answer is no, but I think that we should work towards getting the attorneys here for the environmental attorneys in front of the
Absolutely,
public.
absolutely. It's our right as
Very well.
citizens to have them.
Questions from the community, if you're welcome to step to the microphone. I'd like to make, just remind everyone, 2 to 3 minutes. Our attorney assistant, our attorney this evening will be monitoring that, and just let's get everyone's voice
What
opinion.
do you mean monitoring that? We didn't.
Just a 2 to 3
We
minutes.
didn't agree as a board to limit to people to 2 to 3 minutes.
Well, I would like to everyone to have an opinion that would like to say something, and the only way to get through that might be done at 12 o'clock. Do you agree? Okay.